right, let's dive in. Welcome back. This is Rob Penny with your host, Rob Penny. And we got another review coming in today, another piece of content. And just got the blog up, just took the notes, and we're going to get that video out. So today we're reviewing Tony Robbins. It's a Tony Robbins speech, actually, which is interesting because generally it's his content you might see on YouTube, or you might find if you follow him or purchase his educational materials. But in this case, he's actually giving what I think is a keynote speech at the 2017 DreamForce, which is SalesForce, large company, software, San Francisco. It's their internal employee conference. Yeah. So it seems like it was meant to inspire, and I watched it. This is actually a long one. So this was like an hour and 20 minutes. A lot of great stuff in it. I like to think that I might have actually distilled down some for you. So obviously, link is below in the description, and you can watch it. Certainly great, but I think you can make it through this and get those nuggets of wisdom out of it. So I'm going to dive in and give the overview, the points, and then we'll talk about them in specific. So I put this title to it myself as the largest theme I got out of this is success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. So that's the overarching title. I actually make it one of the points, so I kind of dive into that in a little bit. So the first, this one has, I'm just checking the blog, this one's got five pieces of what I'm calling for this nuggets of wisdom. He used it. I'm stealing it with pride. It's right here. So the first one is that leaders anticipate and losers react. I don't really think he means a loser in like a defaming sort of way, but that leaders anticipate. Number 2 is that we're drowning in information but starving for wisdom. That's going to be a big one. It hits close to home for me. Really like that. Number 3 is the name of the title. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. I put it as number 3. You would think I'd start with it, but it's number 3 for a reason. We'll get there. Number 4, fulfillment is unique as art, but achievement has laws. So fulfillment is unique as art, individual, different all the time. Achievement has laws. Number 5, and the final one, engagement is everything. Some really interesting facts for number 5 that we'll dive into. Man, I say dive into a lot, don't I? All right, number 1. Leaders anticipate and losers react. So what I got from this is Tony starts in the beginning of the speech, and almost this doesn't seem like that impactful, and it really didn't resonate with me. He just kept making such a point of it. I was like, okay, I need to write this down. What he's just trying to say is that anticipation in the form of seeing around the corner for a business or understanding what's coming up ahead and how can you plan for it? How can you best set your team and the people around you up for success? How can you better yourself now in the moment to be prepared for when that time comes? So anticipation in the sense of almost preparation. So I thought that was interesting. I mean, obviously, I watch a lot of content. I distill it down. You don't hear much about leaders anticipating. Not to say that they don't or that it isn't implied, but I've never heard that specifically used. And I'm almost going to finish it here because you're going to see how it ties into number 3. So number 1, which we just went over, leaders anticipate and losers react, rolls right into and works with number 2, which is we're drowning in information but starving for wisdom. So this is my interpretation here, is that Tony's talking about leaders anticipate. We know that. Losers react. We don't want to be reactive. We want to be proactive. Got that. So now we're drowning in information, but starving for wisdom. So meaning that we have all this input coming at us on a regular basis, including my content, including Tony's content. So we're trying to weed through that to understand what is the actual wisdom. What are the things we can apply? And this is what we're going to base our anticipation for the future off of. These principles, these laws, these lessons learned from folks who have already done it. All of these things are not just knowledge, but it's wisdom, it's insight that's been proven. So when he's talking about drowning in information and then also the anticipation, we need to understand what we need to take in, how we can make a rational thought or decision on that, anticipation, and then plan for that. So this is where it comes into number 3, and really the overarching theme of this. I appreciate you bearing with me. It's a strange one for me. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. So this is where I believe his speech is it the right word? Crescendo, or it's the peak, the climax, is that success. We can define success as achievement for this particular talk. So achievement itself has laws and ways and frameworks you can go to get there. How to execute something, how to sell more units, how to grow or scale a company, how to invoke a culture change in an organization. All these things could be viewed as achievement, right? Or success. But success without fulfillment, meaning that if when you achieve and you get to this precipice, this pinnacle of your career, and you find out that it actually isn't what fulfilled you, perhaps because you didn't anticipate what you actually wanted, you didn't prepare for that, or you had too much information and you weren't acknowledging the wisdom. So that's where I'm tying those two in. For me, I feel like he's speaking specifically about we need to start with fulfillment. We need to understand and anticipate what is going to fulfill us to the best of our ability, understanding we're not really going to know who we are 10 years from now, but to the best we can today. What does fulfillment look like? And then what is the actual wisdom? What is the knowledge we can use, we know has worked before? It's from reliable sources. It's not just all that cloud of information. It's those good nuggets of direction that we can rely on. So really, I feel like the speech hits its peak here when we start talking about defining fulfillment for yourself. And now I feel like the talk, at least for me and with my blog, it gets a little bit more specific. It's not so windy, vague, going in a million different directions. And that fulfillment, now that we're defining it so we can anticipate it, you got to realize fulfillment is actually like art. It's as unique as art is, where achievement or success has laws and principles. So the big differentiator here is that with success, when we talk about success, using wisdom, not just knowledge, understanding where we're headed, we can use laws for this is the proper way to distribute a product to a larger audience. There is a framework for a great marketing strategy. There are laws for, operating a international business at scale. So there's different laws and frameworks that we can use, but when you talk about fulfillment or defining that is where it gets more unique, and it's going to be individual, and it's going to change on a personal basis and not just apply to the same frameworks for scaling or running operations at a business. So that was the fourth one. Then we tie it into number 5, which is arguably probably one of the more striking parts of the talk, is that engagement is everything. So when we talk about engagement, we're talking about your own actions and your personal involvement in making shit happen, for lack of better terms. Your engagement in the focus, your engagement in your own goals, your engagement in the company and your business's goals. The engagement is what is going to drive your energy. It's what's going to drive your focus. And it's really going to be an area, I would say from my own personal experience and then from this talk, is that it's something you can't fake. You pretending to be engaged is definitely going to be able to be seen, and it's going to be transparent to everyone else. So actively being engaged is one of the most critical pieces to success. The statistics that I found were extremely alarming. I thought was that, and I'll be honest, I don't know the study this is coming from, but I do trust Tony and the content that this is accurate. So I'll do my best to follow up and give that information below in the description. But only 13% of people are actually fully engaged at work. So that's a staggeringly low number, that only 13% of people have actually rated themselves as fully engaged. The other side of that is that 71% of folks have stated that they are actually disengaged from their work. So, I mean, just to make those numbers jump out at you the way they do at me, if you have 100 people working for your company, 71 of those people willingly wrote down on a survey that they were actually disengaged from work, and only 13 of those folks said they were actually engaged in work. Alarming. But the one that I find even more interesting is that asked in the same survey, 24% of folks said that they are actively disengaged. So that specific determination between the two is that 71% said that they weren't engaged, but meaning maybe they're not focusing and they're just not working towards the goal, whatever it may be. But the 24% of actively disengaged means that they actually specifically do not like it. They don't want it to succeed. They don't like the people they're working with, and that they're actually putting energy into being disengaged. So just tying it all together when you're looking at engagement being everything is that A, you yourself need to be fully engaged in the success and achievement towards your goals, as we talked earlier, specifically defining those goals based on what will fulfill you, unique to you. And that if you want to spread this within your organization or the people you're working with, you need to understand that you have to live that in order for them to really feel that from you. And when you approach that, understanding that 71% of those people are actively not engaged right now, and that 24% of those people are actively disengaged, it shouldn't be something to dissuade you or to dishearten you, but instead you need to just approach it and anticipate that that is what you're walking into, and do your best to plan accordingly to bring your own energy and to bring this conversation full circle, to be a leader, to bring them along with you regardless of where they're at now. Man, looking back, I mean, that really, that went all over the place. So I'm going to recap this, and I might even dive into, I don't know, maybe a little bit better put a bow on this, but leaders anticipate and losers react. We understand that anticipation is key and reaction is not benefiting anyone. We understand there's a lot of information. We're drowning in information, but dying for wisdom. The coup de grace, number 3, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. You work that hard to achieve success and it doesn't fulfill you. That's you really did not anticipate what was coming. But fulfillment's tough to understand, as we know in number 4, that fulfillment is unique as art. It's an individual thing. But achievement has laws. So once we define that unique and individual fulfillment, we can apply the laws of success and achievement to that. And number 5, that engagement is everything. We understand how to succeed. We understand now how to identify what will fulfill us and what's important to us, but we need to be actively engaged and focused on that every day in order to actually make it work, for others to believe in us, in it, for ourselves to believe in ourselves, to move ahead and do so, requires that full engagement and that energy that comes along with it. Leaving this, for me, I think the biggest takeaway, I'm just looking at my notes. I want to say the biggest takeaway for me is going to be 2 things. A, moving forward, I want to understand what fulfillment at the end of an achievement or a task means for me. What am I going to value so I can anticipate my actions correctly? But it's also I'm going to start to focus on engagement. Seeing those numbers, only 13% of people are actively engaged. I'm going to stop and question myself and say, am I really engaged in this? Whether it's a work meeting, whether it's a piece of content I'm reviewing for the channel, whether it's a blog I'm writing or a book I'm reading. Am I actively engaged in the process, or am I just going through the motions? I don't know. I will have to report back and let you guys know, because at this point, looking at those numbers, I like to think I'm engaged, but I'm going to see where that question takes me as I answer it. So I appreciate you guys joining today. It's a quick one. It was a long one. It was all over the place. I think there's a lot of good content. Curious to hear what you think about the video, about what you think about what I thought, and we can start that conversation below as always. So I appreciate you coming back to view, and if this is your first time here, thanks for stopping by, and you hit that subscribe below if you like it, and share it out. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon.